Can we approach for a moment?
Probably not, no.
Okay.
Please be seated.
What do I say then? All right, the defendant's in the courtroom and we're ready to proceed. Does the state have any issues before I send for the jurors?
No, Your Honor.
Does the defense have any issues?
No, ma'am.
Bring the jurors, please, gentlemen.
Let's all rise for the jury.
I'm sorry for that.
Oh, that's okay.
Please be seated.
Let's proceed, please.
That's Debra Taylor. Debra, I want you to introduce yourself to these folks. Tell them who you are, what your name is, and where you live.
I'm Debra Taylor. I'm Leanna's mom. I live in Demopolis, Alabama.
I know this is not where you want to be, so I'm going to keep this very short, okay? While your daughter was married to Ross, did you have a chance to regularly visit with your grandson, Cooper?
I did, just about twice a month.
Would you come out to visit in Marietta?
I would go to Marietta and they would come to Northwood.
I want to show you a couple of pictures, if that's okay. Debra, I'm going to show you what's been admitted as defendant's exhibit 172, 173, 174. And I need to know if you recognize those photographs that are in evidence.
Taken after the hike of Carousel Mountain. But on April 20th, because it was Easter weekend.
And of course, that's Cooper in the picture.
That's correct. He's a little fussy and the flash caused him some distress.
And he's in the car seat that was usually in Ross's car, the red car seat that we've seen, right?
Right.
And how do you know that these were taken on April 20th of 2014?
Well, I still have them in my phone. The date was April the 20th. But I remember everything we did that weekend. It's Easter, he had his Easter basket, and it was the Easter basket.
Now and you and I have discussed this before. After you let us know this was, you remember this being taken April the 20th. Did we actually look in your phone to look at the properties to confirm when these were taken?
Yes.
Did you have a chance to be with your grandson Cooper on June the 5th of 2014? And where was that?
It was at my house, which is actually Northwood. I think it was something else. But he came, Leanna came with him, and I took him to Demopolis, that's where my parents lived. I took him to Demopolis to pick up my mother, his great-grandmother. And he fit in that car seat, just like he's fitting here.
On June 5th, a few weeks after you took these photographs on April the 20th, you're telling us that the way you fit on June 5th is the same way you fit is depicted in these images.
Yes. He was a little boy.
And 174 in particular, we can kind of see where his head is situated in the car seat. Debra, I met with you this weekend at a hotel in Brunswick. Do you recall that?
I do.
Do you recall that I asked you to look at another picture
I do.
that included a mannequin?
I do.
I'm a 907 and 930. Okay. So I'm going to hand you two more images. These are in evidence as well. This is a photograph of the car seat with the mannequin. I want to show you 907 and 930. Do you remember me showing you these photographs? Have you seen them before? All right. What I want to know is the way that you saw Cooper situated in that car seat on June 30th, 2014. Is that reflected in these images, 907 and 930?
Not really. That doesn't look like Cooper. The head is too big. And it didn't come up far enough for you to see it from behind, like a little.
Okay. You see in 907 and 930, Cooper's head is actually at the top and actually sticking up a little bit over the car seat.
Mm-hmm.
Is that how his head looked on June the 5th, 2014?
No, it wasn't.
Debra, did you ever have the opportunity to drive Cooper around when he was in the car seat in your car?
Yes.
Okay. And do you have any recollection of whether he was the kind of little fellow that was fussy in his car seat or easy to fall asleep?
He would pretty much fall asleep. He was a very good traveler.
Do you recall sharing with me a particular anecdote about him falling asleep after?
I do. We went to see his great-grandmother, and we fed him lunch. I made him a grilled cheese sandwich, and he kept telling me it was too hot. He sent me back to the freezer three times because I think he thought it was funny. And finally he ate a sandwich. We got our things together, and we went back to Northport. And my mother sat in the back with him, and we went about a block, which in Demopolis is not very far. We went that block, and I looked back at her, and I asked her, Is he okay? Is he asleep? What's he doing? She said, he's out already. So we didn't even get out of town, and that's not very far either.
I'm not going to ask you things.
Good afternoon,
Okay.
ma'am. Do you remember giving a statement to an investigator for the defense back a couple of years ago, July 7th, 2014? sometime soon after Cooper had passed away, do you remember giving a statement? Or not to the police, I'm sorry, to the defense's retained investigator. You remember talking to them?
Yes.
Okay. So did you, the story you're talking about, is that what you talked to the investigator about that day a couple of years ago, that anecdote about him falling asleep quickly?
I don't remember. That's been a while ago.
Okay. Would your memory of how that went down, would it have been better back in 2014 or today?
It would be better back in 2014, but I was under a lot of duress. We were all in shock. We lost our baby.
Yes, ma'am. Do you remember telling the investigator then that this car trip, okay, did you say that you were leaving Northport going to Demopolis?
Correct.
Okay. Do you remember telling the investigator back then, wait, okay, let me make sure. Where were you leaving, Demopolis or Northport?
I lived in Northport.
Okay.
And my mom lived in Demopolis.
Okay. All right. And so you were was anybody in the car with you other than Cooper?
Just Cooper was in the car.
Just Cooper, okay. And you were driving?
I was driving.
Okay. And what car were you driving?
2009 Camry.
Okay. Do you remember talking about back then, you actually, this was in the morning when you left, that you left to go to Demopolis at 10:51 a.m.
Okay. Yes, I texted Leanna.
Okay. And so, you said he had a grilled cheese lunch. Was this like an early lunch, or is it possible it was some type of breakfast, or do you remember exactly? I know it's been a long time ago.
Well, he'd had his breakfast, and he fell asleep going to Demopolis pretty quickly, too.
Okay. So, from Northport to Demopolis, that's what you're talking about, where he fell asleep quickly.
No.
Okay? It's on the
You
way.
mean what I
Let's talk about first, what did you tell the jury about? And I'm sorry if I'm confused. Which trip were you talking about when you were talking about how Cooper fell asleep fast?
when I was talking earlier,
Yes, ma'am.
before you?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay, that was when we left. We had, played and visited a little bit,
Okay.
and then he had some lunch or late lunch, I believe it was, and then we got in the car to go back
Okay.
to where I live.
All right. And when you talked to the investigator back in 2014, you didn't tell him about that part, did you? You told him about the trip to Demopolis. Let me ask you this. Have you looked at the report that the defense investigator did talking about your conversation with him?
No,
Okay. And if he said that your conversation with him was only about the trip to Demopolis that morning, would that be accurate?
what do you mean?
What I mean is, if a defense investigator who, if he wrote down at the time he talked to you what you told him, and he only wrote down that you told him about the trip to Demopolis, is it possible you only told him about that back in 2014?
I doubt it. I would have told him probably told him about the sandwich.
Okay.
That was so memorable.
So we'll have to talk to him about that then, about what actually was said. Okay? Thank you. Now, you stated then, back then, I think, that a different part of it, that you think you'd gone about a half mile to Highway 69, going to Demopolis. Is that about right? From your house to Highway 69?
While I'm in Northport, where my
No, I'm
apartment.
going, okay, yes. If you're taking Cooper from Northport to Demopolis, leaving your house, it's about, I think you told the investigator, it's about a half mile from your house to Highway 69. Is that correct?
It is, yes, about maybe just a little bit under 0.5 because I measured it when I was doing some walking.
Okay. And you said that you never heard a sound from Cooper the entire trip to Demopolis, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you weren't looking at him, you didn't know exactly when he fell asleep, do you?
It was quick. You can tell when they're asleep.
Okay. Well, what I'm saying is, you're assuming based on him not making any noise that he was asleep within 0.5 miles, correct?
I know he was asleep.
Okay. And how is that?
Because I knew it. I knew it. I was in there with him. He was talking to me and making noises, and then he went to sleep very fast.
So you knew he was in there with you. You were cognizant of him. You didn't forget him or anything, did you?
No.
Okay. And was he pretty close to you then, enough for you to hear when he was falling asleep or when he was awake and making noises and things?
He was in the back seat. Yes, I could hear him.
Okay.
He was on my right side.
Okay. And so those pictures the defense showed you, I don't know where they went.
Turn back over, Brian, on the box.
You would agree, looking at State's Exhibit 173, Cooper's head is well above the little Chico sign, correct?
Well, you see, Cooper has this adorable little cowlick there that makes his head look a little bit higher.
Okay. Are you saying that picture it's not accurate?
No, the picture's accurate.
Okay. And you agree that his head's coming up a good bit above the Chico sign right there,
But
correct?
I would say it's right to the top of it.
Okay. Man, we're looking at this photo right here, correct? And you do not agree that his head is above that little Chico symbol?
Well, it looks like it's above it because you have the hair to put it to add to it.
Okay.
But if you look at that one,
And let's
You
look
can
at
see.
174. And 174, it looks like his head is above the Chico. And it also appears he's leaning forward. Would you agree with that? He's not very happy right there.
no, he's not happy at all. He's moving his head
And he's leaning forward. You would agree with that?
a little bit, not much.
And this is April 20th, 2 months before he passed away, correct?
April 20th.
Okay. And again, looking at State's Exhibit 172, it looks like in this picture that Cooper's head is almost up to the top of the car seat, correct?
No, I see the top of the car seat right here.
Right. And excuse me. Would you agree it looks like his head is almost at the top of the car seat right there?
Well, it's getting close, but it's not there.
Right. And so this picture is down from looking straight at you and taking the picture, correct? This isn't an angle from sitting in the driver's seat looking down or looking over at the car seat.
I'm sitting beside him like that.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. You're in the back seat with him from this angle, and you're shooting a photograph at him, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's not a photograph, not of you from sitting in the driver's seat with the child right there. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
And would you agree, looking at 930, that's how the car seat usually sits in the Tucson? Would you agree with that? That's how close the car seat is?
That's where the car seat was positioned. I can't really, I never saw it from that point, that vantage point. I know it was in the middle of the back seat,
Okay.
but I never saw it from that vantage point.
Okay. So you can't tell the jury what it looked like from sitting in that driver's seat, how the child appeared in the car seat, correct? You never sat in the driver's seat.
I didn't sit in the driver's seat.
Okay. I think that's all I have, man. Let me just make sure. Okay, and I believe when you talked to the investigator, you remember an Alabama trip where Leanna brought both car seats?
Yes.
Okay, and she said that she brought the rear-facing car seat as well that you used that day.
Correct.
And
That's why
then-
she brought it.
Right, and she said that the forward-facing seat was difficult and it was easier to put the rear-facing in, correct?
Correct.
Would you also agree, the forward-facing car seat seemed a bit more comfortable for Cooper, correct?
He liked to be forward better than being backward. He could see what was going on and talk to the people better. But as far as comfort, he didn't ever seem uncomfortable in either of the chairs.
Okay. And there were numerous occasions where Leanna would there were occasions she would come over for work and bring Cooper with her, correct? To visit you in Alabama. Was that about a monthly thing?
It was yes, it was a monthly thing.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Deborah. Judge, I would make a motion to recess for the day, please.
No objection.
Y'all should laugh. We should all laugh at that. Given the time and the circumstances, I find it reasonable. Let's resume at 8:30 in the morning. Keep an open mind if they're discussing with each other or others who let anyone speak with you about the case. Tuck your notepads and leave them in your jury room. Remember that what comes to you about this case must come to you through this courtroom and through no other vehicle whatsoever. Have a very pleasant afternoon and evening. I'll see you.
All right.
Any issues before we recess for the day?
No, Your Honor.
Just real briefly, Judge, you had sustained an objection
Please be seated.
when Angie Bond was testifying, and I requested an opportunity to do a proffer. I've looked back on what it was that I was going to ask about, although I think it was relevant. I'm not going to insist on a proffer. I do, however, want to bring back to the court's attention a matter that we dealt with last week. I subpoenaed part of the state's file, part of the police file, and it was the subpoena was not honored, and the material was not provided to me, and we took it up, and the state objected on discovery grounds. And then I later came back. In particular, Judge, what we're talking about is the material that came from the FBI to Detective Stoddard's possession. And then my understanding was it went from Detective Stoddard's possession into evidence, and then at some point it went to Mr. Boring or the DA's office. And I believe what was agreed upon, I later requested that for purposes of the record and a proffer, that a copy be provided to the court and marked, so that for purposes of the record, we would have it. So with that extremely long-winded intro, at the end of the day, I'm asking, has that been done? Has the court received that proffer yet?
You have not, Judge, and I'm sorry. Thanks for the reminder. I completely it slipped my mind in the middle of everything, so we'll take time over the next day or so to get that into the record.
Thank you, Judge. That's all I have.
I'll just remind you all that these things can kind of be discussed before you bring them to me. But otherwise, everything's fine. All right, see you all in the morning. Have a
Thank you,
good
Judge.
day.
Take care.
Yeah, I got it.